Hi, and welcome back to Lithia Springs Public Library, where we're going to pick up where we left off on finding work in crisis. Today we're going to deal a little bit more with resume building and have an excellent opportunity to hear from a life and career coach on things you may want to think about for your next chapter. Google resume building, and the search will return millions of websites, blogs, and videos on the subject. So, to save you a little time, let's take a few notes from Indeed.com. Number 1. Look for keywords in the job postings. If the job post requests 2 years warehouse experience and you have that or more, make sure your resume states that clearly. Number 2. Review resume examples for your industry. Use the language of the trade. Number 3. Use a professional font. Balloon and fancy script fonts may look appealing to you, but it's not for the resume. Remember, you are trying to make a professional impression. Number 4. Include only the most relevant information and put the most important information first. While you might have extensive work or educational experience, it's important to keep your resume as brief as possible without leaving out key information. Adding years of irrelevant experience doesn't help get the job you're applying for. Number 5. Use active language. This means using power words such as achieved, earned, completed, or accomplished. Number 6. Call attention to important achievements. Bring accomplishments on behalf of the employer to the forefront. If sales were up as a result of your work, say increased sales by X%. Number 7. Only include subheadings and sections you need. Your resume is about you, not about someone else's template. Resume sections should reflect that. Number 8. Choose appropriate margins. Typically, you should use a 1-inch margin size on all sides of your resume, with single spaces between the lines. If you have too much white space, you might consider making your lines spaced by 1.15 or 1.5. You can also increase your margins if you find it is difficult to fill your resume, but that should stay between 2 inches. Number 9. Proofread and edit. Before sending your resume, you should undergo several rounds of proofreading to ensure there are no spelling or grammar errors. And number 10. Decide whether you need a unique resume for different jobs. Before submitting an application, you should ask yourself, have I made it as easy as possible for this employer to see that I am qualified? Let's say your most recent employment was in the banking industry, but you also have extensive experience in retail. Having two resumes specifically devoted to those industries will allow you to market yourself in two different areas. In 2017, LinkedIn reported 6 seconds is the average time an employer spends reading a resume, which brings us to our next point. There is no magic way to write a resume that will guarantee an interview. A good resume is tailored for each position. Again, have at least one resume for each field you intend to pursue. Whether it's retail, hospitality, education, or any other industry, create the resume for your audience. Include a summary statement that highlights selected accomplishments and awards and quantifies as many achievements as possible. But no matter how well written, employers are still unlikely to read it for more than 6 seconds. As promised, we have Mrs. Belinda Thomas, a certified life coach, here to answer some of the questions you may have as you search for work in this season. Belinda, with so many people in the marketplace, what words could you share with those that are looking to find work?
Thank you so much. One thing that I would say about preparing yourself or marketing yourself in a crowded climate would be to make sure that you prepare yourself to be marketable. This is a time when the market is very crowded, where you have to take on the mindset of an entrepreneur. Even though you may not ever want to be an entrepreneur, never had a desire to be one, but you have to think like an entrepreneur. You have to think of yourself as a business entity. And, and as a business, it is important for you to sell the business. What is the business? In this case, it's your skill set. And so coming up with finding out what your appropriate skill sets are for the particular opportunity that is presented to you is going to be very important. And so I would say that if you would look at your current skill set, what were you doing in your past job? What were your strengths? What were the main things that would get the most accolades and would push your performance ratings? Look at those things and itemize them. And then also, I would suggest that you would even take a look at your weak points as well, because it's those weak points, your weaknesses, are what you need to concentrate on right now. Because the climate is so crowded, the market is so crowded with so many people applying for the same positions, you're going to need to be able to stand out. And don't think that you are not able to stand out. You are unique. You have tremendous strengths, and you have abilities that can be marketed as such. And so if in your last position, say for instance, you were an office assistant, and I'm just using that in a general term. If you were an office assistant in your previous position, then what are some of the tasks that you had to do on a daily basis or on a weekly basis? What were some of those tasks? What were the ones that you did the best? And begin to zero in on those. And you need to make sure that your resume shows that you have some experience in keeping things in a methodical order. That is the ability to pull together teams, to be able to work together as a great team member. That's going to also be important, that you are able to work with people virtually, because now there are a lot of jobs that are going to require some virtual interaction, which means that your customer service base, your customer service face and your base is going to need to be at the top of your game. And so those are some things that I would suggest that that you do, that you pull out your weaknesses and begin to work on those. Say, for instance, if procrastination was one of your weak spots, then I would say to finish working as a personal agenda. Finish working on one or two of those projects that you have dreaded or put on hold in completing them, because those are going to be things that I promise you that if they were a problem in the past or they're a problem for you right now, they are going to show up when you go to apply yourself for a new position. You must stand out like a rock star.
What do you suggest to those who've not been afforded the ability to work in a virtual environment?
For the individual who does not have background in working virtually, I would suggest that you begin to look at, when you look at job descriptions, read every responsibility that is listed. Even if you know you don't qualify for that particular position, begin to look at job descriptions and find the individual responsibilities and look at those things that are listed and find your niche in the list. Find your niche in that list, because there has to be something there. You're going to have to find something in there that suits you, your personality. You may have to enhance your skills by taking on some online courses, or to yes, you'll need to do some online coursework to brush up skills or to learn a new skill, so that you will qualify for some of the positions that are out there. This is going to be a time where it is going to be critical for everyone to really polish up your skill set. The things that you know very well, make sure that you are up to date on the versions. Say, for instance, if it's a software application, make sure that you are up to date on what some of the new releases are. Most things will deal with from a virtual perspective going forward. There's not a lot of way around that, but find out what your niche is. And it may not be that you need to work all of those things, but there is something that you can use and capitalize on it going forward. And those are going to be the things that you're going to need to put in your resume, that you in fact know it, you have knowledge of it, you understand it, and in some cases you may already have experience with it, but you may not have known that you had experience with it. When you start to see those things, begin to think back to your daily activities of what you were doing in your previous employment and see how you can pull those things out of there. It's in there.
We also suggested in part one that our viewers look outside of the box. What do you say?
Yes, I would say yes, but on the other hand, I would say do what you need to do to make it through this season, because there are you may put in for a position, you may get hired, and we celebrate your being hired in advance. But once you get a position, this is a different timing from what it had been, say, 20 years ago, where you would apply for a position and you were literally expected to remain there until you're retired. But now that has not been the mode or the expectation that you will remain with a company or a particular position for an extended period of time. So what I would suggest is that you find your spot on the org chart. Find you a spot on the org chart. It may not be the position that you had dreamed of. It may not be you, it may be a position that you may be overqualified for, but don't sell if you know that you're overqualified, don't sell that part of it. Just give the potential employer enough information that says you can in fact serve that organization or that company. You can serve them for what they are asking for in that job description. And it will be helpful to have some statistics or some data to back it up that you were able to save the company $3.4 million over a 12-month or a 24-month period, or you were able to retain the customer base in the territory that you served, or you were, so things like that, yes.
That's
So
great.
get what you can while it is available, because eventually I believe that there will be some openings in other areas that will be more suited to your qualifications later. But it is important that you get in the flow. And we really don't know how things are going to, none of us can really predict how or when things are going to turn around, really. But if we take what we know right now and use it to our advantage, I believe you'll be okay. Yes.
It's been pretty tough for quite a few. So, what could you suggest as people begin to rebrand themselves, moving from anxiety to anticipation of a new job?
I actually would say that one thing is to practice being a vibrant person, practice smiling, practice being your best self. Get up and get dressed. Show up for the day dressed for success. Dress that if you get an opportunity, or you get that email or a phone call that says, we have seen your resume, and the persons who will be able to interview you are only available within the next 30 minutes. And so you will have less than 30 minutes to prepare yourself for that interview. So that's why I say, get up every day as if this is the day that you are going to meet your next employer. Be prepared. Do all of the things that you need to do to be well represented when you show up. And when I say practice, I also would suggest using your mobile phone, using your iPad or whatever your mobile device is, or your computer that has a camera on it, and begin to practice interviewing, practice introducing yourself in that camera wherever you are. Practice it, and then look back at it, review it, and see if it was convincible, if you are overdoing it, or if you are too laid back, or do you look like you really want this particular position, and practice doing that for multiple types of positions, because in some job postings, they may ask for someone who is laid back, or someone who can work in a high stress environment. And so You want to show your poise. You want to show your ability to navigate when things may get chaotic, but you have to prepare yourself for it. Stop. Don't look at yourself as the unemployed one, but look at yourself as the potential of being the next best for the position that is being presented to you. Practice makes perfect.
Belinda, as you know, most job applications online include a separate section considered to be an assessment. Can you speak to that?
Those assessments, they do have a way of tracking your behavior. And so you want to be, and so don't take the assessment as as a sad person, but take it as a confident person. I am doing this assessment. I'm going to answer all of the questions that they're asking me, and I am going to put my best foot forward. I'm not going to fudge any numbers or any information. I'm just going to tell the truth about how I will be an asset to them and how I will respond in certain things. Being truthful in applying for any position is very crucial. I have seen people who were very well qualified for positions. The pay was great. They were accepted. They were offered the position coming out the door. First, I mean, even before they finished the interview, they were giving them the position. But because they were not honest about their past or something on their resume or a statement that they made that was verified, or not being able to be verified, I should say, they were let go, and it just stops the process for you at that point when you are not honest about it. So I would suggest always, 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 always tell the truth, but you don't have to tell all of the details. Answer the question that you are asked. It's not important for you to volunteer additional information, especially if it has the potential of being detrimental to your success or of landing that particular job. It's so important. Tell the truth. Tell the truth on your resume. Tell the truth on the application. And by all means, tell the truth in the assessment.
Is there anything else you can think of to share with our patrons?
The one thing that I would suggest for right now, for those who are looking, is to keep looking. Don't stress over looking, but keep looking. Set you a time frame of when you're going to do it. It can be very overwhelming if you spend 8 hours straight of looking for work. Just, set you a time frame of that. You need to take a break away from it because you need to encourage yourself as you go along. You also, again, make sure that you are able to showcase your skill set. Showcase it, the things that you have. If there are things that you have always desired to know how to do, this will be a good time for you to learn them. Go into those there are online courses available just about everywhere now. Some of them are available for free, that you can go and take some of those courses and find and brush up on your skill sets. Brush up on that. And you may not have the experience right now, but you can take advantage of this time and learn you a new skill set. Learn one or two. But make sure that it is in line with something that you perhaps feel like you will be a great asset in doing. And then look at ways even when you're out and about, or you may be on the phone, maybe even with a doctor's office trying to make an appointment. And you may notice that there are some things about that experience that you wish would have happened. That may be a clue for you of something that you may be good at. And so begin to look at yourself, look at your abilities, look at the things that make you tick. Look at the things that you say, oh, I have a better way. I know a better way that I could do that. Or maybe they should do it this way. Well, maybe you are the answer or the solution for a company's problem. Maybe you're the best candidate for the next job, and maybe you can be the one who will create your own, and it will all be well. It'll all be well.
One more thing before you get away. What do you say to people concerning the salary question? Is negotiating still an option in this climate?
Some companies are going to lower salaries going back in. So if you were an on-site worker and now you are applying for a new position but it is a remote position, or it could have been your previous job, that when they offer you to come back into the workforce, or to recertify or be in that position again, because they feel as though your ability to work from home, that they may not have to pay you the same salary that you were making. So with that being said, I think that you need to prepare yourself for the probability or possibility that salaries are going to be lower in coming out of this crisis. So in terms of what you should ask for in terms of salary, I would recommend that, and this has been the same, that you find the range. Don't make it a huge gap, but a range of of a few $1,000s of difference in range, maybe within a $10,000 range. And I would make the statement that in my previous employment, my salary, or I was able to command a salary of, and I'll just use hypothetically, I was able to command a salary of $32,000 a year. And you offer that, you say that in the past I made $32,000. So if I'm able to still maintain that amount, I would not go in asking for large increments in salaries at this point, because I think that will be one way that will move you from the top of the list, at least down to number 10. So yeah, so you need to be aware of the fact that there may be some adjustments in salaries going back. Companies are going through crises as well as individuals, and they are trying to stay afloat. And so they're going to have to look at their bottom lines. And even though they want to remain viable for their industry and still stay solid as a company, they're going to have to look at some cutbacks. And I think salaries are going to be one of those. Salaries, and perhaps some of the other fringe benefits that we all have been accustomed to having for many years. Yes.
I do hope that something has been shared to help you along your way. We were here to help you find work in crisis.